Are you getting frustrated with what to feed a teenager who's always hungry? Everybody knows that teenagers have a huge appetite. It seems like you need to feed them constantly to satisfy their hunger. It's even more difficult where teenagers who struggle with their weight truly want to make changes, like cut down on junk food or stop overeating, and they can't. There's frustration, isolation, stress, and that's why I decided to create a recipe collection of 30 easy and healthy meals for teenagers. They're all high in protein to satisfy your teenager's hunger, and they can all be ready in less than 30 minutes. If you want to grab a free copy, go to lifestyleforteens.com/recipes.
This is the Lifestyle and Weight Loss for Teens podcast. If you're a mom and want to help your child who is struggling to lose weight, you are in the right place. If you are looking for healthy lifestyle tips, Dr. Gorgery is here to help you understand the science around safe weight loss in teens and children. Because what works for adult weight loss is not always the best for children. This podcast is for educational purposes only. Dr. Gorgery does not provide medical, psychological, or nutrition therapy advice. You should not use this information to diagnose or treat any health problems without consulting your own medical practitioner. And now, your host, Dr. Jenny Gorgery.
This is Dr. Gorgery. Welcome to another episode of the Lifestyle and Weight Loss for Teens podcast. In today's episode, I decided to bring up a topic that has to do with fast food, and in particular, the effects of fast food in children. And there was a great study that was done a few years ago. However, I think as time goes by, if anything, it becomes more relevant. This is because the consumption of fast food by children has increased significantly, almost more than fivefold, from 2% that used to be in the 1970s to now 10% in the 90s, and probably today is even more than that. The increase in the food restaurants is unbelievable. And not only the restaurants have increased that serve fast food, also, we now find fast food in local communities, in public schools, and even in hospitals. So it is way more easier, not only for adults, but for children of all age to reach out and find fast food. And what is the problem with that? The problem is that fast food is food that has a lot of calories. It is usually unhealthy fat. It is usually food that has a lot of sugar. It is usually food that has a lot of salt. And of course, companies do that because food that is high in salt, high in sugar, high in fat is going to taste much better than food that has lower quantities of these things. And this is why the use of fast food has exploded through the roof, because that food tends to taste better or create the perception that this food tastes better. It's easier to like that food. So the study I'm going to present today, the actual title of the study is Effects of Fast Food Consumption on Energy Intake and Diet Quality Among Children in a National Household Survey. This study was published in Pediatrics in 2004 by Dr. Bowman and the group, and it was based on data that were collected as part of a big survey that was done throughout the United States, and it involved a big number of children and adolescents. They have more than 6,000 of kids between the ages of 4 to 19, and what they did is they kind of gave them specific food diary questionnaires, like they asked them to remember what they ate in particular days. And they had a list with food options where they ask them where they had that food or not. And that's how they could get information of how much fast food they had eaten, and if they, for example, had fast food or if they went to pizza places, they kind of group that together. They also ask them where they found the food, whether they find the fast food in supermarkets, in lounges, in school cafeterias, in like vending machines and things like that. So they also calculated the body mass index for every child. If you don't know again what body mass index is, I invite you to go and check out episode 1 where I explain how to figure out what your child's BMI is and how to calculate if a child has an unhealthy or not unhealthy body mass index. But in one sentence, I will say that BMI is a tool that researchers use to evaluate the percent of unhealthy weight a certain child of a certain age has. So they calculated the body mass index on every kid along with getting all this information about the different fast food options these kids consumed. Another thing they did is they calculated the calories from what every child had reported that they were eating. They had their own tables with dietary information, and they can calculate not just the calories, but they can calculate also the amount of fat they ate, the amount of carbs they ate, the amount of calories they ate. And they also ask them general questions about how much sugar sweetened beverages they drank, how much water, how much milk, how much fruit, how much vegetables. So they also collected data on, in addition to the fast food that they were eating, what other foods besides that they were also eating. Now, they collected all the data and then they kind of analyzed it, and here's what they found. First of all, as I mentioned in the beginning, this was a big sample. It was a total of 6,212 children between the ages of 4 and 19. And I would say they were pretty much equally distributed. Like a third was between the ages of 4 to 8, a third was between 9 and 13, and a third was 14 to 19 years of age, like roughly. And they were like half and half females, males. They also look at what was their racial background. Majority of them, like 65%, were non-Hispanic whites, but they also had non-Hispanic blacks, non-Hispanic other races, and also Hispanics in the study. And as I said, it was a study that was done throughout the United States, so it has a good representative of all parts in the United States. So when they looked at the actual data, they found, interestingly, that the amount of fast food calories as kids were older was increasing. So for the little kids, the 4 to 8 years old, the average consumption between when they compared kids that had fast food compared to kids that didn't have fast food, the kids that had fast food, they had like maybe 3.6% or roughly 63 calories more compared to the other kids. When they looked at the kids that were 9 to 13 years of age, they consumed approximately 132 calories more, or 6.4% more calories compared to the kids that were 9 to 13 years old and did not consume fast food. And when they look at the kids that were 14 to 19 years of age, then on average they consumed 379 calories more every day, or 16.8% more calories. So the older the age of each group, the higher the percentage of calories they consumed from fast food, which tells us that increased age is more likely to lead to higher consumption of fast food. After that, they also looked at what is the quality of the food in terms of their macronutrients, in terms of like how much fat and particularly how much saturated fat they had, how many carbohydrates, how many fruits and vegetables. And really what they found was that the kids that had more fast food had also, on average, on their everyday routine, they tended to have more fat, more saturated fat, more total carbohydrates, more added sugar, more sugar-sweetened beverages, fewer fruits and vegetables, and there was a significant difference. In other words, as a total, they had 15% more caloric dense food compared to the group that did not consume fast food. So, and that does not only take into account the fast food that does have usually, as I mentioned, more fat and more carbohydrates and more calories, but even the whole day in general had more fat, more carbohydrates and all those things. It also gives us a message that not only you get more calories and unhealthy fat and unhealthy carbs from the fast food, but at the same time, you kind of cut down on your healthier habits, which is to have more fruits and vegetables. Now, I will also mention another thing researchers did here is they chose some kids that on some days they reported eating fast food and on some days they reported not eating fast food. So they compared each child different days between one day and the other day. In other words, if somebody is used to eating healthier in general, but sometimes they have fast food and sometimes they don't have fast food, when they compared the 2 days, they found that their healthier habits on the days that they did have fast food were lower, like they were consuming less fruits and vegetables on that day, they were having more saturated fat, they were having more calories, they were having more refined carbohydrates. So even in kids that they had days that did not have fast food, the days that did have the fast food, their healthier overall pattern of eating went down. Another thing they found was that in this study, which, as I said, was done a few years ago, 2004 actually, 50% of the kids reported consuming fast food on a typical day. That's a third of our children, which is a huge amount. And in fact, more updated data that were done by the Department of Health and Human Services in the United States between the years of 2015 and 2018 revealed that now 36.3% of the children and adolescents consume fast food on a given day. And they report that on average, like 14% of their total calories comes from their fast food. So if anything, these data nowadays are even slightly worse than that. And when we look at the age, adolescents that are older, adolescents that are 12 to 19 years of age, in general, consume higher percentage of their calories from fast food than kids that are younger. And that is true across the board, across all racial background. Now, the question is, why does this happen? One possible explanation is that as kids get older, they are more independent to choose their own food, so they kind of lose the monitoring from their parents. Another reason is that they are often going to after-school activities. They have a lot of homework. They don't have time. They're always in a rush, so they can grab whatever is easier and buy on the go. As they go to the different activities, they can grab fast food. Oftentimes, they may need a quick energy burst, and the easiest way to do that is to grab fast food. And another reason is that now fast food is also way more accessible in our schools, in school cafeterias. So a lot of kids have easy access even within the schools. So my take-home message for you is look at where your fast food consumption is coming from. Consider maybe making a few changes or even one change in your fast food, and don't think it doesn't count. Everything counts. If you notice that, for example, every day I grab fast food from cafeteria, or every day or most days I grab fast food on my way to play volleyball. Whatever it is your situation, just consider whether you can make a small change in your everyday routine. A small change can go a long way. That's all I had to say for today. I hope this was helpful. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, I invite you to come check out the LIFT program. It's Dr. Gorgory's 12-week coaching program for teens and their moms, where we take all this information, we apply it to your daily life, and we work together so your teenager learns how to create a healthy lifestyle so they can feel happier, more confident, less stressed, and love their body again. Visit the website at lifestyleforteens.com and click on the Work With Me and free resources to learn more about this program and get free help to start this journey right away. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode of Lifestyle and Weight Loss for Teens.